Today we'll be experimenting with wheel weights and sizes, 17 inches versus 18 inches, square versus stagger, and maybe along the way we'll even manage to break our cheap LSD conversion. Honestly though, this isn't my first rodeo when it comes to wheel sizes and weights. It actually drives decent, probably shit. They were replica wheels, pulls, and already. But yeah, they're not even that light. I'm pleased still. Either way, though, bad video or not, I did the fatal mistake back then where I only tested them 0 to 60 miles per hour or 0 to 100 kilometers per hour, if you will. But that test has way too many variables, so probably shit. What we're gonna do instead is we're gonna measure them 50 to 110 kilometers per hour, staying in the same gear, and 20 to 85 kilometers per hour, staying in the same gear as well. Also, speaking of wheel weight, one place where people rarely think about saving weight, well, not all wheel bolts are created equal. For instance, this here, an OE looking bolt, coming in at 69 grams. Yeah, they're not even that light. This one is unoriginal. Here, an original bolt, identical, coming in at 62 grams. And here, another unoriginal bolt, coming in at 74, 73 grams. And finally, I've bought these titanium wheel bolts here, coming in at 36 grams or so. Will these here make a difference to how the car accelerates or how it handles? Well, we're gonna find out. And for a baseline, we'll be using the gunmetal colored ones. Before uninstalling them, well, I did a few performance tests. And that means we can now go ahead and install the 17-inch option here. 19.8 kilos. And a front wheel, 19.6. All right, let's see what these new tires feel like. So feels a bit zippier, a bit quicker. Bye. I don't know if it's the Good Ride combo from before that were punching above its league, or if it's these Goodyears here that is punching below its league. But either way, not a huge difference by itself installing these brand new asymmetric 6. All right, let's go test it. And And back from testing the stock setup with either worn or new tires, well, there's a few things that surprised me, and one of them is that even though we just got a heavier setup, 2 kilos in total, well, we actually managed to do better in terms of acceleration. 6.33 on average with the new tires, whereas it was 6.44 before. And that is the 50 to 110 kilometer per hour staying in third gear. And this result here repeats itself with the 20 till 85 kilometer per hour staying in second gear. Well, average before 492 versus 487 now. And that's actually quite a lot, honestly. I will say this though. This run here were 3 degrees Celsius colder, so maybe that is the sole reason, but I still find it a little bit hard to understand why a mere 3 degrees Celsius colder would have such a big impact. Maybe there's just less rolling resistance on the new asymmetric 6 tires from Goodyear versus the Good Ride something I had with the worn ones. Let me know, because I don't quite understand it yet. But that actually also leaves us to something now even more exciting, because, well, now we are actually gonna step up the weight quite a lot. And here, a rear wheel 255 35 18 tire. Let's see. 23.8, then a front wheel, 22.8, 22.8 kilos, which I'm so bad at math, I'll have to resort to my calculator here. Total 90. 3.2. Well, there's actually quite a lot of weight difference once you tally in all the wheels. So if there is an acceleration difference between them, I will find out now. And then just to check the wheel bolts aren't too long before we go ahead and tighten them. Seems like they're fine. All right, I need to go and torque the wheels to spec, and then, but for now we can go ahead and put it on the ground. It's time to find out whether or not they actually fit, but it kind of looks like it doesn't, but let's find out. Either these wheels here fit perfectly, or they don't fit at all. Let's see. All right, time to test. 2.2 bars all around like all the other setups. There might be better settings for tire pressure front to rear, so on, but this is just to keep the consistency going between the various tire sets. And here for second gear test, 20 till 85. And where the 17-inch asymmetric 6 didn't really impress me, here I have the exact same, just in the 18-inch version, Goodyear Eagle F1 asymmetric 6, and here they are absolutely stellar. They handle so well. Less sidewall flex translates into even better turn-in. I am running a crossbar here up front, and that also helps a lot if you haven't installed that one. But even still, it is even sharper turn-in now, and it handles like it's on rails, honestly. And you can still break traction with the even wider 255, and they look just a bit more meaty as well. So I'm actually super impressed by this setup here. Not that big change in comfort, but definitely more capable in terms of handling. It is, however, just a tiny bit slower, but it's really only once you're at high speeds, or at least higher speeds in the first, second gear, low RPM through the rev range, you won't be able to tell, but higher up, third gear and on, you can feel it's a bit more sluggish though. And back from testing the 18-inch setup, well, we did put on 15 kilos or so in rotating weight, if that is even a word, I don't know. But in terms of performance though, well, we hit it at 6.56 seconds in average, 50 to 110, whereas we used to be able to do it at 6.33 with the 17-inch, so clearly this is actually quite a lot slower than the 17 inches. And also average for the 20 till 85, well, with the 17-inch we're at 4.87, and with the 18-inch 4.99. So they are actually slower. How much of it is a gearing change, being that the rolling diameter is slightly larger? 1.2% larger on the 18-inch wheels. That I'm not certain of, but the point still stands that when you go up in the 18-inch range here for an E46 at least, well, you will lose out on some straight line or acceleration performance. Now, before we start messing around with squared versus staggered wheels and so on, that's something that we need to find out. And to be honest, I'm pretty certain that this won't matter, but I am kind of stupid, and I'm a bit. I have gone ahead and spent quite a lot of money on these titanium wheel bolts here, but even if they don't work as intended, meaning even if the much lower weight compared to its counterparts, even if that doesn't increase the performance, at least not any that we can measure, well, it did open my eyes that there are certain differences between wheel bolts. For instance, this one here, I'm actually not sure where I got it from, whether or not it's OE, OEM or whatever, but these are the ones I'm using with the style 287. 73 grams. Here we have the ones that are intended for the style 68s, 69 grams. And here the original bolts also intended for style 68, bought directly at BMW. 62 grams. And speaking of 36 grams, that's more or less half of what this here weighs, 73. This one has a depth of 29, whereas 28. So these here somewhat identical in length and shape. Well, there's no denying there is actually a weight difference, but again, will it translate into a performance difference? I don't know, but there's only one way to find out. We'll just repeat this for all 4 wheels and then we'll go for a test drive. And I guess my hunch was right that just installing lighter wheel bolts won't really do anything for your car. At least not if you're not an anorectic car, where each and every single gram matters. And there's a reasonable explanation for why that isn't the case. And I'll just show you a screenshot of a guy in a Facebook group that I have that knows it a lot better than me. And he gave a perfectly good explanation why the wheel bolt weight here won't actually matter. But either way, it just performance same. Like if you want some shiny, good looking light bolts, go ahead and spend $200-300 on it, but don't do it for the performance. Let's just continue with the square setup test. Find out, well, how does it actually drive with a square setup, and being that it will be the lowest weight of them, how will it perform? So front wheels on each corner, and being there 225, we should be able to light them up pretty good as well. And being this is the lightest setup, well, we'll be using the lightest wheel bolts we have, even if we just found out it doesn't really matter. But this way here, we'll have the lightest of the light in everything. I'm a bit. All right, back from testing the 17-inch square setup here. It really has my head scratching because now we are at the lowest possible weight we could achieve. And it actually turned out to be somewhat the slowest setup, 648 versus the staggered setup, 633. Also, in terms of 20 till 85 kilometers per hour, I didn't really do that many tests, so don't put too much emphasis on this number here, 489. Well, once I realized it was substantially slower and actually felt slower as well, well, I actually stopped the test because it's not really that fun to rev your engine out that many times. Probably shit. So now we arrive at some kind of bro science here, and if you have a better theory, please let me know in the comments. But what I have come to is that, well, the 225 here actually has a 1% larger diameter than the 245 tire used up here, which means effectively you're changing the rear gear ratio. That will, all else being equal, result in a slower acceleration and faster top speed. That also seems to be the case with the 18 inches here. This is a heavier setup. Yeah, they're not even that light. But it is also a 1.2% change, where this is a 1% change. But here the weight though kind of shines through as we get an even slower time at 6.56 versus 6.48. Gearing changes, that does matter. Obviously, I even made a whole video about swapping rear ends on this E46 here and how it would affect the car. Did I just fuck up? I actually think these output shafts here are different as well. So there's no question that, of course, the effective rear end ratio matters in terms of put on bigger diameter wheels and it will accelerate slower, but it will have a higher top speed. The other thing happening is that we put on additional weight, which also has an effect. That's really it for this video here, guys. Again, if you have a better explanation, please let me know. Please hit that like button or subscribe or leave a comment or anything. And if you have anything else you'd like me to test, if you have any questions in general, just hit me up, you know. So yeah, thank you for watching.